Attention passionate Cleveland, BROWNS FANS. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Cleveland Browns' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Cleveland Browns fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Cleveland BROWNS FANS. Let's get to the news now, folks. If you've been paying attention to the NFL offseason, especially around the AFC North, you probably already know that the Cleveland Browns are not just sitting still. No, sir. They are actively shaping their roster, making bold moves, and setting the stage for what could be a historic season. And one of the most intriguing aspects of this offseason has been what's happening in the wide receiver room. If there's one thing that stands out, it's the strategic approach Cleveland's front office, led by Andrew Berry, has taken in trying to bolster their passing game. And trust me, guys, this is not just about adding names. This is about a calculated, almost surgical effort to turn the Browns into a serious contender on offense. Last year, the Browns struggled mightily with their offensive production. Their stats were some of the worst in the league. I mean, it was pretty embarrassing at times. They ranked near the bottom in passing yards, touchdowns, and overall offensive efficiency. The team's offense was a work in progress, and it was painfully clear that they needed a serious upgrade. While the defense kept them afloat in many games, playing at a high level, forcing turnovers, and keeping opponents' offenses in check, the offense just couldn't deliver when it mattered most. That's why this offseason has been all about fixing that problem, and Andrew Berry has been very active in this regard. You see, Berry's draft history at wide receiver has been a bit, let's say, inconsistent. Over the past few seasons, he's drafted some promising talents like Donovan Peoples-Jones in 2020, Demetric Felton and Anthony Schwartz in 2021, David Bell and Michael Woods in 2022, Cedric Tillman in 2023, and Jamari Thrash in 2024. But the truth is, none of these players has yet established themselves as a clear-cut, reliable number one receiver. Tillman seems poised to start, and Thrash might develop into a starter down the line, but the others, well, they're hanging on by a thread. The fact that Berry didn't draft a receiver in the 2025 NFL Draft speaks volumes about how he's viewed that position group. There's clearly room for improvement, and he's aware of it. And so, the Browns have turned to the trade market in their quest to upgrade their pass-catching core. This is where Andrew Berry's genius really shines through. Instead of relying solely on the draft, where frankly their success has been mixed, they've gone after veterans who can step in and make an immediate impact. One of the most notable moves was the trade for Amari Cooper from the Dallas Cowboys. That trade turned out to be a home run, giving Cleveland a true one receiver who could stretch the field, make contested catches, and provide leadership in the locker room. Cooper proved his worth last season, earning another Pro Bowl nod and racking up over 250 yards. But as you all know, things aren't always smooth in the NFL. Last year, Cooper was traded away, and that left the Browns looking for their next big target. They tried to acquire Jerry Jeudy from Denver, which was a bit of a roller coaster ride. Initially, that trade looked promising. Jeudy was coming off his first Pro Bowl season with over 200 yards. He was a dynamic receiver, and many fans believed he could be a perfect complement to Cooper. But that deal fell through, and Cleveland had to pivot quickly. Now, with the current state of their receiving core, it's clear that Berry is eyeing another veteran addition. The Browns are believed to be exploring options, and one team that's caught a lot of attention in NFL circles is the Green Bay Packers. The Packers, after all, have a wealth of talent in their receiver room, and some reports suggest that Cleveland could be looking to make a bold move for a player like Christian Watson or even Romeo Doubs, though more likely a seasoned veteran like Randall Cobb or even a trade target like Alan Lazard. The point is, Cleveland is actively trying to find a reliable, proven pass catcher to elevate their offense to the next level. But there's an even more interesting angle to this story that's been making waves. It involves the Washington Commanders. Yes, the Commanders, a team that's been fighting to find stability at the receiver position, and one name that's been making headlines is Terry McLaurin. McLaurin, a talented, dynamic receiver who's been a cornerstone of Washington's offense since they drafted him out of Ohio State in 2019, has been at the center of some controversy lately. The issue: contract disputes and frustration over the team's apparent stall on a long-term deal. For Browns fans, that's a familiar story, players wanting that security, wanting to feel valued, especially after putting up solid numbers year after year. McLaurin signed a 3-year extension back in 2022 worth $71 million, with a $28 million signing bonus. That was a big deal at the time, and McLaurin responded with solid production. Over the past 3 seasons, he's accumulated nearly 300 yards and scored 22 touchdowns, with over 0 yards in both 2022 and 2023. Last year, he had a career-high 13 touchdowns, which really underscored his importance to Washington's offense. But now, with his current deal set to expire after this season, he's in a tricky spot. He's making around $5 million this year, which is decent, but not what he believes he's worth after his recent production. And here's the kicker: McLaurin has been vocal about his frustrations, skipping voluntary OTAs and minicamps, which has stirred up some controversy. It's reminiscent of the past when he skipped workouts in 2022, which eventually led to a big contract extension. But the NFL is a business, and these players are always looking out for their best interests. McLaurin, being 29 years old in September, knows that his window to maximize his earning potential is closing fast. His recent on-field performance, combined with the fact that other receivers like Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb have secured lucrative deals, only adds fuel to the fire. The situation in Washington isn't just about McLaurin's contract, though. It's also about the team's overall direction. The Commanders, after finishing last season with a 12-5 record and making the playoffs, have been trying to build on that success. They've invested heavily in their offense, drafting young talent like Jalen Lane out of Virginia Tech and Luke McCaffrey in the 3rd round of 2024. They also acquired Deebo Samuel from San Francisco and signed Michael Gallup, making their receiver room quite crowded. But the fact remains: McLaurin is their star, their most consistent and explosive weapon, and he's entering the final year of his deal. So what does this mean for Cleveland? Well, if the Browns are serious about bolstering their receiver core, McLaurin is a prime candidate. His talent, his age, and his proven production make him an attractive target. And with the Browns having some assets to offer, likely a 2nd-round pick in 2026, a 5th-round pick in 2027, and possibly a player like Greg Newsome, there's a real possibility of making a deal happen. It would be a bold move, no doubt, but one that could really pay off in the long run. Think about it. Pairing McLaurin with Amari Cooper and a young receiver like Cedric Tillman, all under the guidance of a developing quarterback, this could be a game-changer. Now I know what some of you might be thinking. Wait, what about the cap space? What about the logistics of a trade? Well, these are valid points. The Browns have been strategic with their cap management, and they have enough room to make a significant move if they choose to. Plus, the trade for McLaurin wouldn't necessarily cost an arm and a leg. A 2nd-round pick, a future mid-round pick, and a player like Newsome could be enough to pry him away from Washington. And then the Browns would have to work out an extension, just like they did with Jerry Jeudy. Given McLaurin's Ohio State roots, his familiarity with the Midwest, and his desire to win, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he'd be open to a move. And think about the bigger picture: the AFC North is getting tougher every year. The Cincinnati Bengals and Baltimore Ravens are loaded, and Pittsburgh is always competitive. Cleveland needs to make bold moves to stay ahead. Adding a proven veteran like McLaurin could be the kind of move that shifts the balance of power. It's about winning now, building a roster with championship aspirations, and not leaving anything to chance. The Browns have a window, and with the right moves, they could be in the Super Bowl conversation sooner rather than later. But of course, nothing is guaranteed in the NFL. Trades are complex, negotiations can get tricky, and teams have their own plans. Still, the fact that Cleveland is actively exploring these options shows their commitment to winning. They're not content with just being a playoff team, they want to be a serious contender. And that's what makes this offseason so fascinating. Every move, every trade, every signing could be the piece that propels the Browns into a new era of success. As we look ahead to the season, keep an eye on this receiver situation. Because if Cleveland pulls the trigger on a deal for someone like McLaurin, it could redefine their offensive identity and give them the firepower needed to challenge the best in the league. Imagine a receiving core featuring Cooper McLaurin and a young talent like Cedric Tillman, plus a solid quarterback and an improved defensive line. That's a recipe for explosive, high-powered offense that can keep defenses on their heels all game long. And speaking of quarterbacks, don't forget that Cleveland is also counting on their developing signal callers to step up. Whether it's Deshaun Watson, who's looking to bounce back after some inconsistent performances last year, or another young QB in the mix, having reliable weapons makes all the difference. A receiver like McLaurin could be the perfect complement to Watson's game, providing that dynamic playmaking ability that can turn a game on a dime. It's all about building an offense that's versatile, unpredictable, and capable of putting up points in bunches. In the end, the Browns' offseason has been a whirlwind of activity, and the receiver position is at the heart of their plans. Whether it's through trades, free agency, or developing their young players, they're clearly aiming for a significant upgrade. And if they manage to land a star like McLaurin, it could be the move that pushes them over the edge and into serious Super Bowl contention. The AFC North is tough, but Cleveland is clearly not backing down. They're making bold moves, and they're doing it with purpose. So Browns fans, stay tuned. This offseason isn't over yet, and the best is yet to come. The team is putting all their chips on the table, and the next few weeks could be crucial. Will we see a blockbuster trade? Will Cleveland finally get the receiver they've been craving? Only time will tell. But one thing is for sure. The Browns are positioning themselves as a team to be reckoned with, and they're doing it with strategic, calculated moves that could change everything. And now, Cleveland Browns fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Cleveland Browns. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Cleveland Browns news.